All right, board members, it's 6 o'clock, so it's time for us to begin our regular May board meeting. This time I'd like to ask Ms. Williams if you'd offer our invocation for us, please.
Yes, let's bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, as we come together tonight to do the business of the Granville County Schools, make us, as always, mindful of the many needs of our students and how we can best serve them and their families. As we enter the last few weeks of the school year, be with our teachers and our staff as they work tirelessly to perform the many tasks ahead. Grant us wisdom and patience as we come together tonight to work for our kids. In thy name we ask, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Williams. Mr. Peace, will you lead our Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Let's all stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right, thank you all for joining this evening as we begin our meeting. Madam Superintendent, are there any adjustments to the agenda?
No adjustments this evening, Mr. Chair.
Board members, any adjustments from you?
No.
All right, so our meeting will stand as the agenda is presented. All right, our next thing, one of my favorite parts, is our special recognition. The first is we have a resolution as a board we would like to read, and board, after I read this, we'll need to take action on this. Whereas the Granville County Public School District is an academic institution, and whereas we as members of the Granville County Board of Education serve to champion and promote academic achievement for all students, and whereas we as members of the Granville County Board of Education appreciate and encourage community support of our efforts. Whereas the Granville County Ed Foundation, the Granville County Educational Foundation, is an independent, nonprofit 501c3 organization dedicated to enhancing student performance. All funds raised through the Granville Education Foundation are used to provide resources and enrichment programs for the students of Granville County schools. Whereas the GEF is supported by a board of dedicated professionals who support the Granville County community and schools. Our motivated team of volunteers devote their time, talents, and resources for the best interest of the students. We are passionate about promoting student achievement and development while working closely with highly qualified educators. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Granville County Board of Education recognizes and appreciates the service and financial contributions made in the service of children, and further that this resolution of affirmation and support be duly recorded and entered into the minutes of the Granville County Board of Education on the second day of the month of May in the year 2022. Board, this comes to you as an action item. You've had an opportunity to read this. What would be the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we approve it.
We have a motion by Mr. Peace. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. LeBrecq. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, if you're ready, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. So to this resolution, we've set our hands and seals. So this will be signed by myself, Ms. LeBrecq, the Vice Chairman, and Dr. McLean as the Superintendent. We have representatives from Granville Education Foundation here tonight. Dr. Wimborne, will you introduce them?
Yes, sir. Good evening, board members. Tonight is my pleasure to introduce the Executive Director of the Granville Ed Foundation, Ms. Jennifer Cafalo-Carpenter, if you please come to the podium, as well as the Chairwoman for the Granville County Board, the Granville Education Foundation Board, Dr. Linda Frederickson. Let's give them a warm welcome.
Jennifer says she likes to work and she likes for me to talk, but I'm really excited to have this. I got a call earlier today that, you know, if we were available, could we come? And I said, I'll work it out. And I just want to say we are so excited for the 35 years that Granville Ed Foundation has been involved with the school system. We also want to say that as part of Teacher Appreciation Week, we appreciate the teachers in Granville County schools. And we just want you to know how much we appreciate them and how much our work goes ultimately back to the students of Granville County Schools. So thank you very much. If you have not, I got to put a plug in. If you haven't had a chance to go over to the museum right here in Oxford, right downtown, right behind the courthouse, your students, Granville County students' work is displayed there from pre-K through seniors, and it is fantastic. We were unable to do our celebration this year, so our schools came together and all gave pieces of artwork, and there's a silent auction going on until 4 tomorrow. So please stop by. Even if you're not going to bid, please stop by and just see what the students are doing. So it's just an honor to serve because we really, really love the students, the teachers, and the school board. So thank you all very much.
I'll say thank you as well. I will say that the art gala this year has been such a pleasure to do. It is a new event for us. We've never had the opportunity to do this before. We have over 165 items. Every single one of them is framed and or on canvas, and they have an entire exhibit set up at the museum. These items are on silent auction tomorrow from 10 to 4. But the museum plans to keep this exhibit up for another week or two thereafter. So if you don't get by tomorrow, you can still come by and look at the beautiful art that was submitted. But thank you guys for everything you do for us and supporting us just as we do for you guys. And we're just proud that we've been doing this for 35 years. Thank you.
Thank you again for your 35 years, and just y'all are great partners.
Thank you guys so much.
Ms. Richardson texted me, told her to check with you, so she's ready.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to call ahead and see those bids are going up.
Board, thank you for the approval of that resolution. Our next item is we have an update on our NC DPI School Bus Annual Inspection Results. Dr. McLean?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm so excited to have this presentation. It is a presentation that, in my opinion, is one of the best we've had in a while in our transportation department, maybe over 10 years. Mr. Bill Graham will be presenting this award this evening, but our district is extremely proud of every single person in our transportation department. Mr. Bill Graham.
Thank you so much, Dr. McLean. I'm really pleased to be here tonight to speak to this. I usually come to you talking about floods and catastrophic failures of chillers and that kind of thing. This is an entirely, I'm so pleased about this, as I echo everything Dr. McLean said. April 18th, Dr. McLean received a letter from DPI, and there were a couple attachments, and it was the results of the inspection report. We got the preliminary results early, and some of that was shared with you, but the detailed reports, I can't help but spend a second or two talking about this. So, the report of the findings, the bus inspection results. During the review, 9 buses were inspected on March 31st, 2022. Keep in mind that the lower the score indicates fewer defects found during the inspections. Some of you may remember Dr. Winborn doing a very informative presentation last year with mirrors illustrating how it doesn't take much to, gain scores that you don't really want. I'll just say that, we know that it doesn't take much. The 2021-2022 inspection score for Granville County is 23.3. The inspection score last year was 42.43.
Wow.
The average score for the LEAs in the central region was 34.2. Wow. During the inspection, 0 school buses were taken out of service until repaired. So they didn't have to park any buses. This is extraordinary. Keep in mind that this was achieved with 4 mechanics doing the work of 6, and that one of those mechanics, Mr. Thomas Wiggs, served as the head of transportation since December. Okay, he's filling that gap. I would ask Thomas Woods to step forward, please. Dr. Ham. So this is for the entire transportation department to be hung in the garage. Certificate of recognition to the Transportation Department, Granville County Public Schools. Congratulations to the entire department and leadership for earning the best score that that department has ever made during their annual inspections. An absolute team effort. May 2nd, 2022, signed by Dr. Elisa McLean and David Richardson, the chairman of the board. Thank you. You don't know how pleased I am to see Thomas come here. It was like pulling teeth to get him to come here. So I appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's wonderful news. All right, our next presentation is concerning the High-Tech Learning Accelerator Lab for students. And I believe we have two students here that are going to make a presentation. Dr. McLean?
Absolutely. Mr. Richardson, their presentation will come in just a little bit, but we are certainly going to recognize and honor them for representing our district with the Innovation Project. Dr. Winborn, will you present these students?
Thank you, Dr. McLean. Recently, I had the privilege to join two of our students at the North Carolina High-Tech Accelerator Lab in Wilmington, North Carolina. It was held at the Live Oak Bank corporate campus. This was sponsored by TIP, the Innovation Project that we all are familiar with. And it brought students from across the state to try to solve this problem of how to fill the talent pipeline for the high-tech industries. I'm going to save a little bit about this for the presentation that's coming up, but we wanted to just have both these students come up and receive their certificate right now. My driving partner, Mr. Jordan Alston and Miss Lily Wilkins, will you please come to the podium? So we're gonna hold comments until the next section. All right.
Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you.
All right, our next presentation is for Granville Early College. I believe we got some real good news about them.
Oh, we did. This great news came in last week, and we are so proud of everyone at Granville Early College. Dr. Winborn, will you share this good news, please? It's hot off the press.
Yes, ma'am, but before I do, I'd like to invite all of the faculty members from Granville Early College who are in attendance and Principal Harris to please come up to the podium and just sort of fan out, if you would, so we can see you. All right. All right, Mr. Newton, you can't stand in the back there. Come on.
He's trying.
Front center. So this talented and dedicated group of educators has once again been named to the high national and metro area rankings for the best high school by U.S. News and World Report. It is very difficult to get on this list. You have to be excellent, in a word. It was noted on the rankings page on their website that Granville Early College was ranked 174th overall of best high schools in North Carolina out of almost 1,000. But when, in terms of academics, just the academic indicators, they were ranked 34th.
Yes.
34th. And it is notable that their graduation rate was 97% last year. So let's give them all a huge round of applause for this. This is truly something to be proud of. So, Ms. Harris, on behalf of Dr. McLean and the Board of Education, I have a certificate here for you.
We are currently 100% graduation rate.
Yeah.
We have moved up from last year. Again, as I always say, this is an awesome staff. We have
Yes.
awesome kids and awesome parents, and that's how we are successful. And, you know, it's a lot of hard work. They're dedicated to the students. They're dedicated very much to the students. They have high expectations, as I do, and, you know, they pull together. They're always there to pick up the slack. Whatever kids need, they're willing to do it. And, you know, of all the years I've been here, this is the best all-around staff ever.
Mr. Newton's trying to hide behind it.
I started to say, there's a little one over there hiding. There she goes. There she is. While this staff takes their picture, I do want the audience to know when we talk about high standards, high expectations, for all, this staff does just that. And every time I visit with you, every time your principal and I talk, every time I'm there, you just never cease to amaze me with what you're doing with and for students. So thank you, keep up the excellent work, and just know we're proud of you. We're proud of your students. We're proud of what you represent for Granville County Public Schools. Thank you so much for being so incredible. Thank you.
Thank you, that's wonderful. Our next item is we're going to recognize some CTE teachers. So Dr. McLean?
Absolutely. This is a fun night for career and technical education. Dr. Winborn and Miss Angie Salisbury, will you take it away, please?
I am so excited for all the CTE celebrations tonight. Mr. Michael Holman, will you come here? The North Carolina Association of Family and Consumer Sciences convention was in March. But Mr. Holman was unable to attend, and so I have the great honor of presenting him with a recognition award tonight. This award is the highest honor given by North Carolina Association of Family and Consumer Science, recognizing members who have made outstanding achievements in family and consumer sciences and significant contributions to the profession. This year's North Carolina Professional of the Year is Mr. Michael Holman. Michael has been an active member of the profession since he was in high school and continued his active involvement in college. He joined the teaching profession in 2007 and has taught family and consumer sciences at 3 different high schools, giving him an opportunity to work with different student populations. He has served as an FCCLA advisor and in 2014 earned the National Master Advisor Award. His dedication and commitment to student excellence has resulted in several of his students receiving FCCLA awards and later enjoying established careers as educators, chefs, and employees in the hospitality industry. In 2015, Michael received the NCAFCS Teacher of the Year Award. During his career in North Carolina, he has been very active professionally at both the state and national levels. He is past president of the North Carolina affiliate and has been active on the executive committee for over 11 years. He is currently serving on the ESAE Board of Directors and served on the North Carolina FCCLA Board of Directors for 3 years. Nationally, he served on the executive board for the National Coalition for Black Development in FCS, on the AAFCS nominating committee, and as an AAFCS award reviewer. He is an exceptional educator and outstanding leader who has demonstrated a commitment to building and sustaining the professional organizations in which he has been involved. Congratulations, Mr. Holman, North Carolina FCCLA Professional of the Year. We are Very lucky to have him. Yeah. His principal is Dr. Janita Allen. I know she's very proud of him tonight, too. Mr. William Taylor, agriculture teacher at Granville Central High School, has achieved the FAA drone licensure through a grant and partnership with Vance Granville Community College. It's a USDA grant called Plant, Thrive, and Grow to promote the agricultural areas. He was able to participate in the FAA drone class, and then he went and actually took his drone licensure exam and has completed that. The really, really great thing about this licensure from FAA is that he can now teach drone technology to our ag students. And so we are so, so excited. We have 3 other teachers in line to complete that licensure. And drone technology can be integrated in almost every program area of CTE. So Dr. Allen, Mr. William Taylor could not be with us tonight. So Dr. Allen, if you will accept this on his behalf.
I believe the next item we have is CTE student recognitions.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mrs. Salisbury.
So we always like to recognize our students in career and technical student organizations who place or achieve at the regional or state level. And so this school year we had 2 students in Future Farmers of America, one from Granville Central High School, Mr. Landon Blackwell. He scored in 2nd place in the East Central region and 23rd in the state of North Carolina at the FFA tractor driving competition on February the 3rd. So we'd like to congratulate him. Unfortunately, his teacher called to say he couldn't be here tonight because Landon is on a tractor sowing soybeans. So if you will come get this for Landon, Dr. Allen, congratulations to him. And last but not least, another student who placed in the FFA competitions. You see now why I had to say FAA very carefully, because there's FAA and then there's FFA. So FFA, 2nd place East Central Region winner for extemporaneous public speaking is Mr. Jackson Edwards, and he is tonight. Here. Can you tell me what you had to speak on?
It was, so I had one that was precision agriculture farming, and then my first one was how global food growth was affecting our regulations.
Wow. So that is
Wonderful.
unprepared, speak off the cuff. So congratulations, 2nd place in the region. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Mr. Chairman, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It is so great to recognize those achievements, not only in faculty, but students, in what we're doing at CTE, and you'll hear just a little bit more about what went on outside earlier. I just think we can really celebrate some great things going on in career technical education. All right, I believe our next item is our report by our superintendent. Dr. McLean?
Thank you so much, Chairman Richardson, and good evening to everyone here with us and everyone watching virtually. Boy, the end of April and the beginning of May has been certainly busy, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining us at 5:30 this evening, who were able to join us for our ribbon cutting for the CTE mobile trailer truck this evening. We are truly excited about the new opportunities this will provide our career and technical education students in culinary arts and business alike. I'd like to thank Ms. Angie Salisbury, our CTE teachers, and our students who were serving us this evening. Under Dr. Winborn's leadership, we are definitely on the move, and we're thrilled about modernizing our programming. I would also like to thank Representative Garrison for taking time to visit with us here in Granville County this evening. Now, since we last met, Granville County Public Schools has been nothing short of busy, as you can tell tonight. From scholarships and registration to athletics and events to competitions all over the place, we have definitely remained on the move. On top of that, our district underwent necessary steps for the 5-year accreditation review process just last week. And some of you were a part of that. And this evening, I would like to say thank you to each of you who participated and made that possible. We look forward to hearing a final report in May, so please stay tuned. Now let's take a look at some of those events we have wrapped up on the screen for you. Well, that was a bit abrupt. But everything going on around here has not been. Let me also say thank you to everyone who's participated in all of the events you've seen on the screen. There have just been tons. This past Saturday, I'm excited to share that our Human Resources Department and leadership across the district participated once again in an in-person job fair. They've been virtual to this point. We had an in-person job fair, and things went exceptionally well. I'd like to thank once again our Granville Ed Foundation for the Arts in Bloom process and encourage you all to get out to that event. This month, our end of grade and end of course testing will take place. Let's all do everything we can to make certain our youngsters are ready and prepared and that we participate as proctors or in any way possible to make certain our environments are suitable for testing. You saw our early college staff. One thing we did not mention about that staff, I got to participate with them. I was invited, and I applaud them for waking up super early for a 6 a.m. sunrise last week to have breakfast and to play games and make memories with their seniors. How special was that? Leadership Day at Wilton Elementary School was once again outstanding last week, and you saw some science nights on the screen. We are so fortunate to have the many educators we have, just to keep going above and beyond and to do more and more every day, and every day. Finally, this evening, I'd like to remind everyone that this week is Teacher Appreciation Week. We are so pleased to have the teachers we have here in Granville County Public Schools. We love our teachers and appreciate absolutely everything they do for our students and for our Granville County Public Schools family. So if you get a moment to send a kind note or an email just to say thank you to a teacher, past or present, please do so, because our teachers are truly superstars. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my report this evening.
Any questions for the superintendent? Should have checked yours before I wrote mine. All right, we'll go ahead and move on with our rest of our board reports. First, I'd like to thank Vice Chairman LeBrecq and the rest of the board to cover in my absence. I had hoped you'd have the budget done by now, though, but can't have everything we wish. But thank you so much for the hard work, and just know that I was participating with you by our live stream. So a couple areas that I'd like to talk about, just again, celebrating the CTE trailer outside. It's something innovative, something different, something that I think is going to get students excited, and this goes along with student achievement. It's not all about test scores. It's not all about that one day. It's about getting kids to a certain goal that they're setting, and this is one of the ways that we're going to get kids to goals, is because not everyone will go off to a four-year university. They may be our next food entrepreneur that we hear about, and that would be wonderful to see that. Dr. McLean mentioned that as our schools start to prepare for end-of-grade testing and end-of-course testing, we do need to make sure that we're taking that seriously and making sure that we're preparing for that as families, as teachers, and as the board, as we look to being able to support our teachers and being able to do that. It's amazing to me all the different successes we've already been able to celebrate tonight. The Granville Ed Foundation, the things that they're doing, how they're allowing students to achieve through arts. Something that we've never seen before in that way is doing this art gallery. Not only will it raise funds to go back into the classroom, again, it gave an outlet for our students. We've had many athletic events go on, baseball teams, softball teams, track, all of those things that are important to our students and their life as students. And so I'm just excited about how our students are moving forward. As we mentioned, it is Teacher Appreciation Week, and I would encourage, as Dr. McLean said, that you find a teacher and thank them for what they have done in your life or your child's life or your family's life. It's amazing to think of how one person can impact someone for years. We have a current teacher on staff with us in central office that impacted why I'm sitting on this board. It's amazing to look back and see educators and how they impact people for so long. I want to thank Mr. Perry and the rest of the HR department for this job fair, because I know how hard they have been looking for highly qualified teachers to fill the spots. That's what we need in classrooms to help students achieve, as highly qualified educators. That leads us to our last point, is we're going to be talking about budget in just a few minutes. Budget is always a challenge for us here in Granville County, but the good thing about Granville County is that as we meet this challenge, we will look for innovative ways to be able to supply our students what they need. That'll come in meeting with our commissioners and asking. It'll come for advocating for resources from our state leaders. It will come looking for innovative ways to do more with less. I had the opportunity to sit with Ms. Hines and a few others for a budget presentation this afternoon. And while we took all that information in, there are significant hurdles we're going to have to cross. However, they are hurdles that we must cross to support our teachers and our students. And so as we dig in this evening and start working towards that, continuing the work you've already begun, I just want you to remember one thing that I've said most often is when we do things and keep kids at the forefront, then we'll be successful. So as we even do a budget, keeping kids at the forefront is most important to us. So again, thank you again so much for all the work you did while I was gone. Ms. LeBrecq, thank you for doing that on such a spur of the moment. And we just, again, I'm glad to be back with you this evening. So, are there other reports from other board members?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I had the opportunity to attend the
North Carolina School Boards Association's regional meeting at High Point University. And that was last week. And the association is, instead of having 7 district meetings, now they've gone to 3 regional, and we're in the central region. And I attended that meeting with our illustrious superintendent and Ms. Williams. And the report that I'm going to talk about actually is from the president of this School Boards Association, Ms. Lucy Edwards from Northampton County. And she basically talked about the reorganization, the consortium of state school boards. There are 22 state associations that has left the National School Boards Association and formed the consortium of school boards associations. And they are still in the process of putting all the information and stuff together. One of the things that I'm concerned about is getting to the bylaws and laws of this association and how we are going to effectively serve the students, schools in North Carolina. I don't see it changing much, but when you start something new, you know, I like to have all of the details that I can get, and they're in the process of working on that. The director was out of the state, really, so she wasn't at the meeting. But there's a lot more to come, and as soon as I know, I will bring it to you guys.
Thank you.
I'm sure Ms. Williams would have something to say.
Ms. Williams?
Yes, I attended the meeting as well. We did have 2 representatives from DPI that talked about the studies that they're doing on the effects of the pandemic on student learning. And what was impressive to me was that North Carolina has been at the forefront of this, and I think it will be very helpful moving forward as we work with our students. So that was exciting to know that our state has taken the lead in that. The other thing that to talk about would be the vice chair of the North Carolina School Board spoke, and he gave a little bit of an update on the Leandro lawsuit, which has now gone to the Supreme Court, and all the funding issues with that. But some of the other topics he discussed were things like the need that the state board sees for more social workers, more psychologists, more nurses in our school systems. And he also talked quite a bit about the shortage of teachers, qualified teachers, because a qualified teacher is the key to student success. And the concern that the state board has for our state, as well as the nationwide problem in keeping young people going into that profession. And he talked about some of the programs that we've had, like the teacher assistant program, where people can transition into the teaching program and get certification, go to college. And they want to expand upon that and look for other ways that they can increase the number of qualified candidates, which is a good thing that they're paying attention to that, because we need to. And he also mentioned that they want to see if they can get more flexibility for school systems in how they can use their funding, and that would be a good thing. So it was very informative, and I enjoyed it quite a bit.
All right, thank you both for reporting on that and going to that. Are there any other reports from board members? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for your work, and we will now move to our public comment section. Dr. Whitborn, do you have people signed up for public comment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We have 2 individuals who have signed up for public comment tonight. The first is Samantha Harris, and the topic is budget and mask. So, Ms. Harris, when you're ready, I will start the timer for 5 minutes and let you know when you have a minute remaining. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everybody. Please forgive my appearance. I've been on the campaign trail, and knocking on doors and polling sites, so I do apologize if we're not in the sun all day. But I just have 2 questions. One is from your item 9.03. I had a chance to sit in very shortly on your budget meeting the other day, and they were talking about the shortfall that may occur around 2024, and do you all already have a contingency plan of what you're going to do if we have that shortfall? And my second question is, I've read in the paper that you all have already asked our county commissioners for about $1.9 million. I read that in the newspaper, the budget, I'm not really sure what's the name of it, but it's on my phone. And $1.9 million was requested. And is there a plan if they don't give us all of that money, and what happens if that does not happen? I know you're going to talk about the budget later in your meeting, so they're only about questions. My second item is from your item number 7.03, talking about the mask. We already have a mask plan. Please don't change the plan. I know some people, we come and we have our own thoughts. You all have a great plan already in place. Please, I ask that you to keep that in place. It's working, and my daughter is getting to enjoy the prom this year because we have gone by what the CDC and other medical professionals have already said, so I do thank you for that. My last thing is I thank you all for all that you do. Win, lose, or draw, whatever happens for me on the campaign trail, I do still plan to be a part of this great organization of people who help our students, who help our educators, who help to grow and to progress what is getting ready to happen in Granville County. I also read again that Oxford, although I'm part of District 5, Oxford is expected to expand, almost double in the next 10 years. We have to do something now. We have to have a plan now for what's going to happen then. And again, to all of the teachers, thank you so much. Public education works. I have 2 great students who have done well. One who has his master's now and is working for North Carolina Central University. And I got a great email while I was out on the campaign trail that my daughter is now in the top 10 of her class and will be a junior marshal at South Granville High School. So thank you to all of you who spend the time to educate our children. You are doing a job that I don't know that I could do every day, being in the classroom. And I don't know what it's going to feel like if I get to sit where you all are sitting. But I thank you. When I'm here to make a comment, it is not to criticize. It is only to get clarity for what you are already doing. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Dr. Winborn?
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Mr. Chairman, our next individual is Ms. Danielle Hayes, and the topic is survey and volunteering. So Ms. Hayes, when you're ready, I'll start the timer and let you know when you have about a minute left.
Good evening. Well, actually, I did have a budget thought because we were just sitting here, and I did have a thought that I wanted to add about that. So I know that you guys are going to ask the commissioners for more than $20 million this year. Is that right? Yeah. So your budget for our schools is nearly twice what the county commissioners is. And currently, Granville County Schools serves about, 6,500 students, give or take a few. And that's considerably less than we did 10 years ago, but we have the exact same number of schools open. So while we may be looking at growth, considerable growth 10 years down the road, we have to deal with the budget right now. And when 48% of every dollar of Granville County taxes already comes to our schools, what I really want to know as a taxpayer is, what are you planning to cut? Because all I see is you guys asking for more and more money, but you're serving less and less students every year. And so as somebody that our family pays a considerable amount of taxes in this county, I want to make sure that you're also being good stewards of our tax money. So really, I came here tonight to just ask 2 things of you. So I know that you guys belong to committees, and you get invited to everything as Board of Education members, inside school, outside of school. I know that you guys do a lot. But when you go to these things, it's like the glitz and glamour. So like you show up as Board of Education members and you have the, you have the photo op and you have people following you and there's, other board members and the superintendent and it's like an entourage. So what I would really just ask of you is to go into our schools not as a Board of Education member. Okay, just go in and go unannounced and ask where you can help out and see what happens, because that's when you're going to really find out what's going on in our schools. Go in and work the concession stand that's got termite damage and floods every time that it rains. Or go in and, work the help desk up front and staple papers for teachers or cut out their shapes for their kindergarten class. Go chaperone the prom, because I heard Granville Central has a serious shortage of chaperones for this Saturday. So I really want you to get in there and see what's going on, because I think that what happens is a lot of times that you guys get invited to these things and it's like the best of the best, which is awesome, but also I think it makes your perspective a little skewed of what's really going on, because a lot of us parents and volunteers, we see what's not the best of the best always. And so I would just ask you to consider that perspective. And the second thing is, don't fall out your chair. I'm about to give you a compliment. Thank you for doing this survey, the charter school survey. Thank you guys for doing that. I guess it's a survey for whoever has left Granville County Public Schools. I think it's really important for us to understand why people continue to leave, and also hopefully maybe change course and draw those people back. So this also has to do with a different perspective as well. I would just ask that when you get these survey results, use it as a litmus test when you make decisions. So when you see the reasons why these people leave, and I don't think it's because that's where their kids' friends go, just ask yourself on every decision, is this going to bring these kids back? Are we steering things and making educational decisions so that these kids and families that are off in private school or charter school or homeschool, is this going to make them want to come back to our district? Because I think that's so important. If we're going to continue to ask for more funds and keep every single school in the county open, then we really need to be serving more than the 6,500 students that we have. There's about 10,000 students in Granville County, school-aged kids in Granville County, and we're not serving that many. We're serving considerably less than that. So if we're going to keep asking for more and more money and keep all of these schools open, we really need to figure out how to get those kids back in our schools and how to draw those families in. And one last thought. So this is Teacher Appreciation Week, and it's so great to thank our teachers and send them an email or a note. How about instead you call one of the schools and get in touch with their PTO and see what they're doing and go participate. Instead of just sending an email or a thank you, go show up and help, lay out the breakfast items or help restock the snacks in the lounge, or, get in there and show up, but not as a school board member, as a volunteer and somebody who wants to participate. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes public comments for this evening. I will note that I emailed you each earlier a single public comment that was submitted electronically, and it should be in your inbox.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, board members, we're now the part of our business for consent items. You see there in your consent agenda, we have a sole source request for vendor. We have a renewal of the iReady instructional support services for grades K through 8. And then I'm asking consent policy. And so at this point, what would be the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items as presented.
All right, we have a motion by Dr. Houlihan. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Anderson. Is there any further discussion?
Could I just make a clarification? The masking consent item is the intent to maintain the current policy?
Yes, ma'am. And to stay in accordance, so we have to take that vote once a month. All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. Seeing none, if you're ready to vote, all those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Those items pass. All right, Dr. McLean, I believe this is the part where our students will make our presentation for
Absolutely.
the innovative project.
Yes, sir. Thank you so very much, Chairman Richardson. Dr. Winborn, will you please call our students back up to the podium who participated in TIPS High-Tech Learning Accelerator Lab, please?
Sure, Jordan and Austin, if you will join me at the podium. And Mr. Perry, if I could get you to just drive real quick. Jordan and Ash. All right. So, board members, if you would, for a moment, close your eyes and think back to when you were 15 years old. Whoa. All right. Think back to when you were 15 years old. And imagine you get a call from a strange guy, you don't know him, he works somewhere in the central office, and he says, hey, we want you to go travel 3 hours away to a strange place with a bunch of other 15-year-olds that you've never met and work on an incredibly difficult problem. So that's what these two young folks did here, and I will say without hesitation. These two impressive young people joined me, as I said before, at the Innovation Project's North Carolina High-Tech Learning Accelerator event. Okay, this was a 2-day event that was held on a Thursday and a Friday. We stayed in a hotel near the corporate campus of the Live Oak Bank, which, for those of you not familiar with this place, it feels like you're on the campus of Apple or Google or something, wouldn't you say? It was just breathtaking, and you'll see some photos. This is cutting-edge place, and these young people work together collaboratively in groups with other students from around the state to try to solve this problem about how do we fill this high-tech pipeline. We were presented with some statistics that were staggering to me. There are literally hundreds of thousands of high-tech, high-paying jobs that go unfilled in North Carolina alone every year. And when we talk about high-tech jobs, we're not just talking about the ones that require a master's degree or a PhD in physics or computer science. We're talking about things that you can get with credentials, certifications, special licensures, just simple coursework of many types. And so it was fascinating. And these young people, they led the effort to come up with these ideas. And they worked with their peers, and then they had like a Shark Tank pitch that they had to give at the end. I've got some pictures, Mr. Perry, if you will just kind of scroll through. There were 32 of them from across the state. And there's Jordan giving a shout out. And they spent a lot of their time in this auditorium area where they did their work with one another. And then on the morning of the last day, there was a panel of judges that listened to the students. And it consisted of an executive from Apple, another individual from Live Oak Bank, some other high-tech executives, as well as some state senators from both sides of the aisle. For those of you that didn't know, this high-tech accelerator was funded by the General Assembly. I think you referenced that, Dr. Houlihan, earlier, the tune of over $7 million. It was a bipartisan support for this effort. And so this is the very first step in that process. So I'd like to just see, Jordan and Ashley, is there anything you'd like to share about your experience those 2 days? Anything noteworthy that stood out? I'll just kind of open up the mic and whatever you'd like to share. All right, step right.
The camp was cool. I think I don't got Tom. Well, I do got Tom, but like our pitch, I liked our pitch a lot. But I think my favorite part about the camp was meeting the people. It was sad to leave them because what they did was they put us in groups with people we didn't even know. Like we just met them. And they like kind of forced us to get to know each other. And yeah, and we made it through a pitch and we placed second. So yeah.
Jordan did a great job. It was very personable. Share anything about your time there? You sure? Come on up here. I'll say this young lady she was kind of apprehensive at first about, well, do I have to speak in front of a lot of people when I go to this thing? I was like, no problem. Well,
Yeah,
I kind of fibbed.
But it's okay, because I feel like I gained a lot of public speaking confidence. So it was okay. It was interesting. It was fun after I did it. I was just unsure at first. But yeah, I was glad I did it.
Both of you represented us very, very well. So. I've got just a short video to show, but before I do that, I'll just close by saying there's more to come. These two students will meet again with this cohort that met down there, and they're going to do a couple of virtual meets, and then they're going to come back together again because they're going to push these prototypes along. Because essentially what they were designing was, how do we redesign our secondary education so we're training these young people for these jobs that are out there.
That's great.
And they had some amazing ideas, really out of the box thinking. You know, it's like if you want to find out how we should design the future, then who do you think we should be asking?
That's right.
These young people, because they have something to say about it, and they were amazing, and I'm very, very proud of them both. And I'd like to thank Mom and Dad who are here for their support and helping them out along the way. So,
I want to ask you, who is your teacher who works with you with technology? I don't want to say computer because that may be the wrong thing to say. But where did you get into this, both of you?
Mr. Franzen, I don't think he teaches at Central. Yeah, he loves Central, but that's what made me get into it.
And why did he? Why did he reach you so much? I mean, what did he do that you wanted, that motivated you?
It was the way he teach. He was a pretty cool teacher, and on top of that, like, he made what we did in his class fun. It was like digital design. So we could have created video games, but we didn't have time for that. But not only that, like, we got to work with this thing called 3DX Max. Yeah, any of y'all know what that is? And
oh, sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we got.
Sure.
It was like we got to make people move and stuff, and I found that pretty cool.
That's great.
Same thing.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Joey.
Ms. Jordan, what was the pitch that you guys came in second place? What were you pitching?
It's called ST Camp, Social Tech Camp. Getting a social, I can't remember it. You're getting like, they wanted us to, I don't know how to explain it. You're getting a social, like, understanding of it while also getting a technological understanding of it too.
Any other questions? All right, if not, I'll show that video real quick. It's like a 2-minute video. It does a great job of just showing an overview and some of the scenery at the event.
One of the co-founders of District C.
Ann Jones, also co-founder of District C.
So the students right now are designing solutions for this new high-tech learning accelerator. So they've been given essentially carte blanche. They can design anything they want. And what we're seeing right now is a whole bunch of ideas coming out. You can hear it behind us. You can see the action behind us. These are students who didn't know each other coming into this session. And now, 3 hours later, they're collaborating to build something real, to add real value back to the education community, which is really cool.
I just want to build on Dan's idea too. Again, they did not know each other 2 hours ago, and they're already saying, oh yeah, to build on Katie's idea. Oh yeah, to build on Jakari's idea. This buzz, this challenge, they even said themselves, this is daunting.
I'm here at Coach Rink, and we're doing this team building kind of exercise thing. It's a good learning experience.
It's going to be very fun and very interesting to
experience, not only for myself, but for the students, as I already had conversations with them and what they're learning, and just excited about being with folks from around the state that are like them. They're learning different perspectives, and I think it's been a great opportunity for them to be able to explore the area and get away from home and be exposed to some new types of thinking with others.
I'm really excited to be here today to learn about the high-tech job opportunities and to really learn about what high-tech really is so I can portray that to others.
Dr. Winborn, I want to thank you and our students. I think, Jordan, I got to talk with you as you drove home. He was so excited. And nothing makes a superintendent prouder than to find opportunities that we may not have had. Our job is to find opportunities and experiences for them to survive in the world in which they will live. And I could not be more proud this evening than to have you two represent our district and to continue learning and growing and bringing it back to others. So thank you to both of you. Keep going out there, pitching and winning all the information and acquiring everything you need so that Granville County Public Schools will continue being innovative and cutting edge. Thank you to both of you.
Mr. Chair, could I make one quick observation? Oh, you're not through yet? No, go. I was going to go on to.
I, again, just wanted to thank the parents who are here this evening
Absolutely.
for their support. So can I give them a quick round of applause? Yeah,
Absolutely.
Couldn't have done it without you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Just a quick observation. It is, I don't know how much we realize the success in our school system. And by that I mean, we started with one of the best high schools in North Carolina. Yes. 34th in academic, whatever that is.
Yes.
And just great excitement and great feelings for what those kids are doing. And they're not all, I mean, it's choice. They're choosing, and it's very diverse and all that. I mean, it's just really great. And the teachers. Then look what we moved into, tractors. And the kid couldn't be here because he was riding his tractors, planting soybeans or digging it up, whatever they do with soybeans. But think of all the different things that we talked about in terms of CTE, even the food truck, all that kind of stuff. And then finishing up this conversation with with those kids. I am just amazed at what you all can do. And my point is that should be why we're on this board. Yes. You know, we put up with a bunch of junk and have to because, we're elected. We deal with a bunch of nuts and bolts stuff that would, we have to do it. But anyway, this has been fun. And rarely do we have fun at a school board meeting.
Amen.
Except when David is not here, but excuse me for that. We won't go there. Thanks because of Miss LeBrecq. But anyway, I just wanted to make those comments. It's just, the variety of what we're doing. We're doing a lot of things that need improvement, no question, but the opportunities these kids have compared to what so many of us did growing up. And we're doing it. We're not, and I just want to compliment you, Dr. McLean, and everybody else. Good night, and I'm thrilled that these kids have done what they've done.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll say good night. I don't have anything else to say about that.
About that particular thing, right?
Thank you.
I hear some crack,
Dr.
but I'm not sure what it was.
Thank you.
It's exciting to know. I know we had some questions about our involvement in the group that puts this on, and it's always exciting to bring this to the forefront to be able to see. It was a good decision. It is bringing something good to the district, and it is something that's helping students be first, and so that's what's important. So Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Our next item of business is 8.02. Board, you have, in your board docs, you saw a letter from Vance Granville Community College asking or recommending for us to reappoint Ms. Barbara Cates Harris. If you remember, we are able to appoint someone to the Vance Granville Board of Trustees. And so she comes at the time of her reappointment. And so this comes to you as an action item. Is there anything you'd like to add, Dr. McLean?
Not at all, except I do endorse this. She's been nothing but pleasant, and I've heard nothing but good things.
One thing I have asked Dr. McLean is when we get into the new school year in August, is we're going to invite our representative to come and give a presentation to us.
Yes.
To understand that work. We are intimately involved with Vance Granville. We hear about that, but then to hear it from her perspective. So, Board, this does come to you as an action item. What would be the pleasure of the Board?
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we make a motion that we approve this letter from them. Hopefully, we will hear from her at least once a year.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Peace to approve the recommendation of Ms. Cates Harris. Do we have a second?
Second.
Heard about three of them. It's going to make the vote easier then. All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Peace, a second by Ms. Williams. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Dr. McLean, if you will relay that back to Vance Granville for us, and we'll set that presentation up for August.
Yes, sir.
All right, our next item, we get to hear a little bit more about the exciting event that happened earlier this evening. It's our CTE mobile trailer. So, Dr. McLean, I believe Ms. Salisbury is coming.
That's correct. Ms. Salisbury, please.
So I am so excited that tonight you saw a dream come to fruition of expanding our culinary arts opportunities for our students. In CTE, we're always looking for opportunities to make lemonade out of lemons. In the fall semester, we were faced with several unfilled CTE positions. And so we realized, wait a minute, that means we're going to have additional funding that we can convert. And what are we going to use that on? And Dr. McLean reminded me, wait a minute, remember we've been thinking about that food trailer. And so we were able to do that. From 2017 to 2022, nationwide, the food truck industry grew by 13.7%. The annual revenue from food trucks is $2.7 billion. $2.7 billion. It is one of the fastest growing sectors of the hospitality industry, and we are so excited to give our student the experience to train in this industry. We are also very excited that we will be able to utilize this trailer, this mobile unit, for other district promotional activities. As we were thinking about the design for the outside of it, we were very intentional that it could be used in multiple areas. So, of course, the primary area will be culinary arts and serving food. But under the Serving You today, I don't know if you noticed outside today, it didn't have anything there, but we will have interchangeable signs. So one that says the Granville Central Panthers, and then one that says JF Webb Warriors. That's the two high schools we have the culinary programs at. But then we might just have one that says Granville County Public Schools. This past Saturday when we had the job fair, wouldn't it have been cool to have that big old trailer on the sidewalk and to have some HR folks passing out magnets and thanking folks for coming to our job fair and welcoming them as they come up. We're so excited that our students will have the opportunity at community events such as Alive After 5 to actually show off their culinary skills. And so we really, really are excited about this program. You will see it again very soon at our Work Keys celebration. Again, that night we'll be providing refreshments out of it. And just so you know, I try to surround myself with people who are a lot smarter than me. And so I was a little disappointed out on the sidewalk and went and asked Mr. Holman, why didn't we serve the lemonade and the cookies out of the trailer. And he said, well, Miss Salisbury, it has not been sanitized, and we cannot serve anything out of it until it is sanitized and clean. And I said, yes, sir, that's the reason I defer to you. So I've got some incredible staff. Mr. Holman, that you saw earlier, is at Granville Central High School, and Mr. Stacy Smith is our teacher at J.F. Webb High School. So we're very excited about our food trailer.
Very nice. Comments from you?
We're just elated. Again, this is a dream come true. We thought this could happen pre-pandemic. It did not, but in not being able to fill certain positions, again, CTE funding was used to make this happen. So where we thought, oh no, we have a little trouble, oh, we made it work for something else. So we're just pleased. Our CTE department has done a beautiful job. It has been a collaborative effort. So you see Ms. Rodenbaugh, some others back there. They work together beautifully, this department, with our finance department, to try to help make things truly happen for students. Remember, the word here is to modernize as much as we can, not for the world we know, but for the world students need to know. We're looking ahead and looking down the road to make sure we equip them for the world they need.
Can I point out something?
Yes, sir.
So we took the tour of the Vance County Innovation Center a
That's
couple months
right.
ago.
Mhm.
They had one of these there. They've got a pretty nice culinary arts department. They've got a cafe, those kind of things. And we were impressed with that. But I'd like to say ours is bigger and better, I just noticed.
Just a little competitive, are
Okay,
we?
just want to make sure we're all on the same page. All right, bigger and better,
That's
bigger and better.
right.
Mr. Chair, I would just like to say this is awesome, because when I sit and I think about the two students we just heard speak as 10th graders, I think they were, you know, they're about 10 years into their academic journey. And 10 years ago, stuff like jobs, flying drones, stuff like having a job running a food truck, these were things that were unheard of.
That's
So
right.
in this 10-year time span since they started school as kindergartners, we've got these other avenues that are opening up, so we definitely want to prepare them for what's coming in the next 10 years that we haven't even thought about. And one more thing, Madam Superintendent, I just want to, I'm borrowing this from Mr. Peace, because I heard him talking about it earlier.
See?
Wouldn't it be great if we had a wrapped pickup truck to pull the trailer along? I'm just dropping that out there.
I like that.
Okay. We are accepting donations, Dr. McKnight.
She knows how I get when I say, I like that.
I bet Ms. Hines could find a receipt book right now if you had a checkbook.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I think you're staying right there because you are presenting our career and technical education program and state plan.
Absolutely. We do have an action item this evening in the area of CTE. So ladies, will you take it away, please?
Thank you so much. Again, it is wonderful to be here celebrating CTE tonight. I feel like the board meeting tonight is CTE. I have with me tonight Ms. Michelle Stevens. She is our CTE Curriculum and Instructional Management Coordinator. And Ms. Tamara Rodabaugh, she is our CDC. She also serves the North Central District of North Carolina as the CDC Treasurer. So we're very proud of her for that state position. We thought we'd start out this evening and share some of the program achievements with you. There are 6 indicators in our federal application. We pulled out 3 to share with you tonight. These 3 are our 4-year concentrator, graduation rate, and our post-secondary placement. Our students continue to excel in a career pathway as concentrators. These concentrators have a 4-year graduation rate of 94.4% and post-secondary placement of greater than 95%. I know that it's always important to look at our subgroup data, and as we looked at that subgroup data and dig down into that, we found that our students with disabilities exceeded the state benchmark for Granville County Public Schools by almost 13% for the graduation rate. So we were very pleased with that. Also, in the post-secondary placement, the subgroup of economically disadvantaged students increased their positive placement by almost 5%. And that is really great from coming out of a global pandemic. I'm very, very proud of that. Finally, we have added 11 new credential opportunities for our students. But most important, we have closed that gap between our white students and African American and Hispanic students. 2 years ago, our white students achieved a credential 20% of the time, our black students 9% of the time, and Hispanic less than 5% of the time. Now, our black and Hispanic students achieve the credential 18% of the time, and our white students achieve the credential 13.7%. So we truly closed the gap and even overcome it.
Our next slide here talks a little bit about showing what we've got. When we think about some of our goals that were set in our 2020 local application, our goal was to increase public awareness in our CTE programs. So this school year, we have really worked very hard to get the word out about the learning experiences of our students related to skills and careers. In October of 2021, NCDPI CTE representatives conducted a full audit of our program. We were commended for our career development program, for our documentation of our comprehensive local needs assessment, and our over 91% survey response rate of 2020 graduate concentrators, those who had completed a second level CTE course. This was above the state average response rate of 86.6%. In February, we celebrated CTE Month by distributing informational flyers throughout the community. And each of you have one of these flyers in your packets today and have probably seen it before. But what a great opportunity to share information with our community about what CTE students are doing. We also have published several newspaper articles about student experiences. We have presented to multiple community groups and organizations celebrating CTE students and their learning. We continue to offer 26 different pathways to students in 8 program areas as we work together to educate and prepare students for the workforce. As the North Central Regional CDC SPC Treasurer, Granville County, along with the support of our neighboring counties, hosted the Regional CDC SPC Conference in March.
Tonight we will share program highlights from 3 program areas: Facts, Family and Consumer Sciences, Business, Finance and Marketing, and Agriculture. You've already seen and heard about the expansion of our culinary arts program with the food trailer. Well, we are also really excited that our Granville Central High School kitchen has all new appliances. Students in our Business and Finance and Marketing program area, in our entrepreneurship classes, this was the first year that we've been able to offer this course. They have the opportunity to earn venture credentials in entrepreneurial classes, or entrepreneurship classes rather. So the goal of this is to actually expand this offer to offer entrepreneurship too, which will make this a completer pathway, resulting in even more CTE concentrators. As for our virtual enterprise, our VE students develop business skills and entrepreneurial mindset through classes that are transformed into companies, where they manage the day-to-day operations of a company. Through these experiences, students identify careers that align with their interests, talents, and aspirations. In addition, JF Webb students recently participated in the International BE Business Plan competition, which you may have heard about. Another event to note is a regional trade show. that was recently held at South Granville High School, where VE students tested their sales skills through selling products and services that they designed. Both of these courses are offered at all 3 comprehensive high schools. And the next program area is agriculture. We're highlighting the ag program, which is offered at all 3 high schools, because this area represents the largest percentage of our student enrollment. Very popular among our students. Ag students can earn certifications in OSHA, vet assisting, and Briggs & Stratton small engine repair.
Our next slide talks about career awareness, exploration, and development. Students start very early in elementary school gaining an awareness of many careers and pathways to employment. Our 5th and 8th graders attended a truck fair career event just last week. Middle and high school students have the opportunity to visit and tour programs at VGCC and local businesses who would like to hire them after graduation. Last week, our young adults attended a hiring event where seniors looking for full-time work interacted face-to-face with over 20 employers. This week, we have a virtual career event for 10th and 11th grade students. Each semester, high school students have the pleasure of participating in internships and apprenticeships, such as vet assisting, healthcare, welding, and business administration, just to name a few. These experiences help them develop employability skills and verify their future plans, or allow them in a safe space to change their mind. Our Business Advisory Council continues to meet quarterly to advise us with developing a high-quality CTE program for our students.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to present tonight. Do you have any questions?
I have a quick question. The program quality credentials, can you just go over those numbers one more time for me?
The indicators?
The program achievements, when we were talking about closing the gap, the percentage, yeah.
So for the credentials, is that the part you're talking about?
It's on page 2.
Yeah. So in 2019, our African American students had 9.6% earned credentials. In 2021, our African American students had 18.5%. Our Hispanic students in 1920 was less than 5%. And our African American was 18.8% in 2021. Our white students in 2019-20 were at 20% earned, and in 2021 they were at 13.7%.
So I was just curious, because I think it's great, I'm really excited about the first 2 comparisons that you've talked about. Do we know the reason for the decrease then in the last?
I did not. I can certainly look into that.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful on the first 2. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah. Well, and the gap between the students of color compared to white from 1920 and then compared to 2021, yes, our white students went down, but we certainly did close the gap in between.
Yeah, and that's great. I'm not trying to diminish that at all. I was just curious because it was just interesting that 2 categories would like increase and then one would dip. And
that's right. Yeah. Just off the cuff, one thing that I might guess is that in 2021, their last school year, there were some credentials that required both a test piece and a hands-on performance piece, and we couldn't achieve that credential. The students all achieved the test piece of it, but some of them did not come into school because we were out of school. So they didn't get to come into school and demonstrate that hands-on piece. So that might be one of the areas where we lost some of those white students.
Board members, any other questions? All right. So that was an overview of where we have been with CTE. If you remember in board docs, there is a document there that is our state plan coming up, what they're planning to do, present to DPI. That does require action by this board tonight. So that was given to you in board docs for you to review. Do you have any questions about that before we take action? All right. So it does come to you as a recommendation from the staff that you approve this CTE plan to be submitted to NCDPI. What would be the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion it be approved.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Williams to approve the DPI plan. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Dr. McKnight. Do we have any further discussion?
I just want to thank the CTE department for everything that they've accomplished. I mean, it's really remarkable of all the diverse offerings that we have in the schools. It's very, very great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if you're ready to vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Very good. I want to tell a story real quick. So we were at the softball recognition for the alumni players. And my wife loves animals, and so we were out in the parking lot, and you could hear the goats. And so the CTE teacher was there and took her over to see the goats and everything. They've made a connection, so that preschool class that my wife works in is going to be able to take a field trip to go see these goats right next door. They didn't even know it was there. So it's cool for them to see what the older kids are doing and being able to make that connection early, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely.
So very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies.
I'm just glad she's able to visit them and not bring them home.
Don't tell them.
Because she tried.
I did try.
She tried. All right, our next item is 8.05, athletic events admission payments. I believe this is Dr. Winborn and Mr. Timberlake.
Thank you so very much, Chairman Richardson. This is a presentation that won't take very long. We have a single slide to share. Mr. Timberlake, will you come onto the podium? Mr. Timberlake and Dr. Winborn are making a bit of a declaration here. They presented this in our work session to you. They did a little more homework based on some of the questions you all presented that evening. So let me turn it over to you, gentlemen.
Yes, so thank you, Dr. McLean, and I'll just start us off. We heard you loud and clear. We know that there was quite a bit of feedback from the community about this, and we went back after the last meeting and did a little research, and Mr. Timberlake and I spoke. And so just as an administrative change in the process, effective immediately, all schools will now offer both online and in-person purchasing options. So that will be available effective immediately. Mr. Timberlake, did you want to share a little bit about the experience at our schools with this in this regard?
Yes. We knew with any change, there's going to be some challenges. And the change we put in place was for the safety reasons of those ticket takers. And I know that's the right decision to make if we're going to have people working with our young people. At the same time, I know we're planning for what our children are going to be tomorrow, with e-tickets is for the day. But all of the county is not there yet. So, in the first year, we knew we would want a blended model. And so those cash payments will be available so that those who are without access to some of the tools it may take to purchase that e-ticket, now they'll be available.
Dr. Winborn, can I ask you to do something related to this?
Yes, sir.
Can we communicate? Recently, we received an email that was directed to the board as well as many General Assembly members and things of that nature. Can we communicate this back to them? Because we were specifically called out as a district, and I'd like people to know what's going on.
Yes, sir. I'd be happy to do that.
All right, thank you. Board members, any other questions for Mr. Timberlake or Dr. Ms. Williams?
Mr. Timberlake, about what percentage of the ticket sales now are being done with the online app?
In the high school, we're probably looking about 60%. We get a daily report.
About 50%?
About 60. Our young people are very, very familiar with that. But we get a daily report from Varsity Ticks on how much is there. So the accountability piece was another big piece of that. So it's there.
Thank you.
Mr. Timberlake, one of the questions during the work session happened to be about, was this an app? And it is. Did you want to just talk about how this app is used?
Oh yes, with Varsity Techs, one of the reasons we went to Varsity Techs, they're in Charlotte. There's a lot of these companies out here, and they may charge $1, but their support was overwhelmingly the best. And they're right here in Charlotte. That's very accessible. And they do have an app that you can just put on your phone where you know, anybody know anything about apps, you just go directly to it, purchase your tickets, and then they'll go there at the gate. It automatically uploads if they have internet access, where it's by internet access, or if you can download every ticket we purchased prior to, it's downloaded so that it can be contactless. And so it's been a great tool to use. And still is a great tool to use. And most people are getting the hang of it. In the district surrounding us, it's the only way our people are able to go. That's the only way that they're able to attend away games. So it's here. It's not coming. It's here. But again, being this is my home as well, I knew that a small population of our community may not be ready yet, and we want to also serve them as well.
So if you communicate it to folks, you need to communicate if they go to away games, so you can't control what the opposing team will,
Yes.
because other folks in our conferences, it's all online.
Yeah. Okay. Thank y'all for the work on that.
Thank you.
Next, I believe, is our alternative accountability model for 2022-23 for Phoenix Academy.
Thank you so much. Amy Rice, will you, Mr. Timberlake, take it away? This comes to you every year, board members, as an action item. The alternative accountability model is back again. We hope you've had an opportunity to take a look at these three, but Ms. Rice, will you just give us an overview
Yes,
so that
ma'am.
they may vote?
So as you all know, Phoenix Academy is our already approved state alternative school. So if you'll go to slide 1, there are 3 options for when schools can use an alternative accountability model. We use the first one. The school is approved already as an alternative school. It has its own public school number, 390314. And so once we have that, we have the option of using an alternative school model. The first option A is not to use a model. You would just use the regular school system performance model and give it a regular school performance grade. The second is option B, which is participation as defined by that long code. Designation assigned to the school is based on a comparison of the overall score in a current year compared to the school's results from the previous year. And then option C, schools participating in this option will propose modifications to the accountability system. We have not proposed modifications. So, if you'll, next slide. So our recommendation is for alternative accountability system for Phoenix is to use option B. And so the components of this are divided into 3 components. Student persistence, which counts as 20%. And you can see there what that is defined as, is that students stay enrolled in a North Carolina school. And the second is the school achievement, counts as 20%. EOG, EOCs, ACT. For the high school students, it would be the EOC, ACT. For many of the schools, it may be the 4-year graduation cohort rate, but I'll just let you know that for our alternative school, our students do go back and they graduate from their base high school. So that is part of our alternative school model. And then, of course, math course rigor, that they get through Math 3 by the time they graduate. And then school growth counts as 60% in this particular model. And so then that total score is combined, and then they are given, next slide, a designation. They would still get a score or a grade, but instead what actually gets seen by public is a designation, progressing, maintaining, and declining. And it is compared to, as I just said, what their score was the previous year. in that change. You want to see an increase, and if that increase is above 3 points, they are progressing. If they're within that 2.9, negative 2.9 to a positive 2.9, maintaining or declining if they're below that negative 3. And so we recommend that we continue with this. This is what we have been using, and our recommendation is that we continue to use this as the alternative accountability model for our alternative school, Phoenix Academy.
So board members, this comes to you as an action item tonight. The staff is recommending that we approve option B for our accountability model. Do you have questions before we act?
I have one question, Mr. Chair. You noted that the student who graduates from the base school. Is there any issue when a student does not graduate in a particular year? Is the local school, his base school, blamed, or do you understand what I'm getting at?
Yes.
So what happened? So does the high school, the base school, is that school penalized because that particular
It's
child?
part of it. So to graduate in 4 years, we're going to talk about that in a minute.
That's good.
Yes, sir. So yes, it is part of the performance grade of all high schools. That is part of the performance grade of high schools, to graduate students in 4 years. 4 years. And they come in ninth grade, and the lovely state of North Carolina knows. So we'll get to that in a moment. Let's focus on this now.
Want to see if you're on your toes.
Any other questions? All right, so what would be the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve, option B.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. McKnight and a second by Mr. Peace to approve the option B as presented for our accountability model for Phoenix. Is there any further discussion or questions?
I was just curious, are we hoping to move forward with this with other schools? Can we do that? Because I feel like this is not, okay.
Yeah, it has to be an
Just
alternative.
for alternative schools only.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, if you're ready to go, ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Ready to go, you just still got to sit there. All right. Our next item, I believe Ms. Rice is still here with us with Dr. Winborn. We have our local school report card, performance grade options.
Thank you so very much. Mrs. LeBrecq is on to something, because our committee met, and while we can't use that model, that's just for alternative schools, our board did ask that we consider something, and that's what this presentation is about. What might we consider in our district? And Mrs. Rice and Dr. Winborn have conducted research to look across the nation at some options, and tonight they're going to bring to you some school report card and or performance grade options for you to consider. Okay?
But before I get on my 5-minute clock, just let me say, it's Teacher Appreciation Week. I just want to say thank you to Granville County Public Schools. I am a product of Granville County Public Schools. So thank you to all of my former teachers who are at home, maybe watching this board meeting. Thank you to the school board. Thank you for all your work. My former superintendent, my present superintendent. So just thank you for all that you all do. And I appreciate it. Education. Love it. Public education. Appreciate that. And I did not forget that I gave you a homework assignment last time, and I do hope that you brought your math problems back, and I will collect those. And
I'm just saying, nobody told me I had homework. So.
well, I have a copy for you. I always remember students who were absent.
She's a
and they
teacher to the
always
heart,
have the
everyone.
opportunity to make up their missed work. So, but in case you did look over the math problems and you were wondering about that, all of those math problems were taken from the 5th grade. They were all 5th grade math problems. So truly, I was asking, are you smarter than a 5th grader when I gave you those math problems? So that was your homework, and I see that you all would have some difficulty if you were back in school turning in your work. So, Just kidding. So we are going to talk about the alternative local report card and performance letter grade system. If you're on the subcommittee, the academic team subcommittee, you have heard part of this, and then that subcommittee sent us back to do some extra work on this, Dr. Winborn and I, and some team of other individuals. So I have another quiz for you because I'm testing in accountability. So we're going to all pull together and do this. True or false? The North Carolina school report card is the same thing as the school performance letter grade. True or false? All together?
True.
False.
Or you're
We'll
wrong.
talk about that in a minute. True or false? This is for you folks at home too. True or false? Educator qualifications are a required component of school report cards.
True. False.
True. True or false? North Carolina is the only state that calculates schools' report cards performance grades for grades 3 through 12 using an 80%, 20% model. 80% is student academic and 20% student grade.
That's true, too. True.
True. Very good. We are the only state doing that. Next one, and look, I couldn't even number them right. True or false, all states are required to use the A through F grading system as part of the school report cards because it's what people know.
False.
That is correct. False. True or false, chronic absenteeism is a component that must be reported on school report cards.
True.
True. True or false, for high school report cards, on-time graduation, you were asking about this, Dr. Houlihan, for high school
ma'am.
report cards, on-time graduation carries more weight in the performance grade calculation than meeting biology proficiency. False. I'll go ahead and tell y'all because y'all are looking confused. False. They are equal. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. It all just goes in. So let's move forward. We'll talk about this. So report card versus performance grade. We often use them synonymous, and they're not. So we think report card because we release report cards, but what we see is the performance grade. This school got an A, and this school got a C, and this school got an F. But that is not the report card. The report card is this huge report card that you can click on and go to the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and see all much, much greater detail of information that is on the report card. Disaggregated student performance data, let's go to the next slide, it shows much, much more. Look what all must be on the report card. The federal government says, especially if you receive federal funds, which almost every school district does, this must be included on every school report card. English learner progress, ACT, SAT, college enrollment, school safety by subgroup, preschool enrollment, digital teaching and learning, class size, school attendance, chronic absenteeism, school size, educator qualifications. All those things are part of the school report card. But what do we think is school report card? A letter grade. Letter grade. A, B, C, D, or F. How did we do on academics and how did we do on growth? Those are the two things we think are school report card. They're not. It's what our grade equals, but this is what's supposed to be on a school report card. Next slide. So, here's our current performance grade. We use an A through F. We, again, are the only state that uses this 80% model for proficiency and 20% based on growth. There are some pros to that. Students will benefit from holding schools more accountable. That's what people say are the pros. Parents will have data about school performance that they can understand. They know A's and F's. And grades will encourage more targeted school improvement. Okay, that school's got an F. Let's go help them. The cons is we do not reflect the learning in all schools. You have high growth and receive an F. You can receive a B and be a school in Granville County and have never, ever, ever, since you've been in place, made growth. Not a Granville County Public School, but another school. Never met growth, ever. It's bias against schools of high poverty. Could lead to more attention on borderline students while underserving the lowest and highest performing students. So there's lots of cons. Next slide. Alternate report card options. Other states use all of these models. You know, we don't have to have an A through F. You see what other states use. Stars, index model, descriptive formats. Next slide. So we were charged with, let's look at something different. I think the board has charged that for some, you know, what can we come up with? So I thought, goodness gracious, that I started this new job and now I have to come up with a report card model. But then I started doing some digging. There's no need to start from scratch. Guess what? Our General Assembly had actually charged North Carolina Department of Public Instruction to do that. And they had hired people much smarter than me to go and do that. And it's out there, and they've been told what to do. But the Department of Public Instruction is just on hold right now. Judge Lee, also, because of the Leandrew case, has ordered it as well, and he has the West End report. So we have all of this information out there and lots of suggestions. You can read it later. There's lots of slides. I've read through all of that. You can read it if you just enjoy that sort of stuff. So there's all these suggestions of things we can do. So many, many recommendations. Keep going. There's examples that they've been given of, this is from Ohio, more letter grades. We've seen this one, I think we made this suggestion several years ago. This is what would happen if we used a 60-40 model. You would see that, oh, you know, we'd have, schools would be much better if we just used 60-40. And that's what, Ms. LeBrecht, you just said, you know, could we use what was used for the alternative school? Because they at least gave 60% for growth. And if we used a 60-40 model, just that, you would see the difference in our school grades there. But we would want to do even different than that. Next. There's a world of possibilities. So this is what we gave to the subcommittee. And I said, you know, change is coming. Dr. Truitt has already said there's things we want to do. What do we do in the interim? The simplest was that 60-40, and we gave some other suggestions. And so the subcommittee says, well, go back and bring us 3 options. And so, thank you, Sam. Do not go to the next slide. I don't have to get to the next slide. So here's what we can do. We thought, well, how can we redesign the way we present a school's profile? And then our next question is, what you have all just been saying tonight on this fun night, isn't a school more than just a letter grade? And we hear parents say that all the time. Isn't a child more than just a letter grade? And that's what my children always tell me. What other measures can be included in addition to academic achievement? So, we give to you Granville County Public Schools portrait of a school. These are all categories or indicators that are part of what the feds say must be included in a school report card, but that currently North Carolina does not use as part of the grade. It's on the report card, but it's not part of the grade. We divided them into 2 categories, student achievement and school environment. And then under student achievement, there are 2 categories, the same that parents and we're used to, proficiency and growth. And we said, you know, they're equal. Proficiency is important, yes. Students should be proficient on their EOGs, but growth is just as important. And so they would be given equal weight. And then that environment, the school environment, who's in the school? We have students and we have staff. And in the student areas, we would look at attendance, Because at the high school, I can tell you, that was huge. I'm not going to grow my students, and they're not going to be proficient if they're not coming to school. It was our number one issue, I felt like. Students needed to come to school. A well-being survey. We already have that in place. How are our students doing? And then behavior. We want our schools safe. That's your number one concern. They need to be in school, but they've got to be safe. And then for our educators, we need to measure them on the same. What's their attendance? And, if they're not in the building, then our students can't be proficient and they can't grow. And their teaching working conditions survey. How do they feel in the building that they're working? And then the turnover rate, because we know that we need them to be here and to stay here. These were the descriptors that we thought would give us a good portrait of a school that we could show to our parents and understand, and that we thought that our administrators and our school leaders could then use to say, if I have these pieces of data, this is what I focus on, and this is what I take my strategies and try to improve. This is where I can start improving my school as well. Next slide.
I might add also, one of the things that we were really interested in is tying this to what we're already doing. When you look at our district's strategic plan that we have gone through great pains and to get stakeholder feedback and develop, these items, these descriptors are contained within that. So this aligns with what we say our strategic plan is. So I think in addition to it being required by the federal government to track, it's part of our strategic plan. We're already doing it. And these are the things that our school leaders can use and pick up on for their school improvement plans.
Can I ask a question? So I really like what you presented, the descriptors for the school environment, the attendance well-being survey, those kind of things. Are they going to be tied to some kind of numerical value?
So that would be the next step. We'll have to tie them to the numerical value. Our well-being survey, Lauren's already got markers that she knows she wants us to get to. We already have those standards in our goals. So it's just to get with her, what would be a 5-star? What would be a 4-star, a 3, a 2, and a 1? And it's fair, because our goal is not, the last thing we want to do is try to tell the public, we're just trying to make all our schools look like 5 stars. That's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is have a tool that allows our schools to focus on what are we doing well and where do we need to improve. So we don't want to have a scale or develop a scale that's going to not really show us where do we need to improve. Where are we weak? What schools are strong and what schools are weak? And so that we know where to give help to which schools. So we want to put some time into that. The student achievement and growth is pretty easy because we can take that from what we've had. So it's knowing how to do those areas.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely, credibility is a big part of this. If we were to just, as Amy said, arbitrarily or artificially pick some data points just to try to make things look better, that's not going to help anyone. But I think it focuses on what we've said is already important, and it's consistent with our work.
But we have to, if you have suggestions, if there's stuff, questions?
Dr. Owen?
A couple things. First of all, thank you. This is great. It's a great move in the right direction. What I think is especially effective is that basically every one of these will have statistical data to help make the decision about what it would be. Because the first thing we'd hear from somebody if it was, it's one of those fluffy feel-good things, and terrific. One of the things that, one of the questions is, at the end of the day, when you have all this done and we collect the data, how will it be shared in a way publicly that will make sense? And one of the things that I thought was really cool to maybe take a look at is the one on progressing, maintaining, and what was the other term that was used? I'm sorry?
Declining.
And declining. You know, those could be, as a parent, I understand what that means. It's getting better, it's doing what it's doing, it's declining. And you'll talk about that would be where you'd focus with the declining, but I think a parent could really understand what that meant. So just throw that out as an idea.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you, this is in the right direction.
Wow. Dr. McLean sent us back several times. She had a vision. Well, I mean, she did. She had a vision. It was great. She
kind of mean.
Amy. It wasn't mean. It wasn't mean.
Amy.
It was great. But when it came together, I mean, it really did. We were all there. We were like, this finally. It was just. We wanted something that parents could understand, but that our schools could use as well, and that principals, and that's what she knew. She just, and that was more than what we have had, and not just the same old, and so just something, you know.
Very good.
But for your question about high school graduation, that goes under the achievement. It is part of the high school achievement. So where 3rd through 8th is just did they pass the EOGs, that is part of the high school achievement. And if I were at JF Webb, I could enroll a senior today that is supposed to graduate in 1 month. And he could be 3 credits shy. And he could have gone to another high school for 3.5 years. But if he is enrolled at JF Webb High School, he's mine. And I need to graduate him in 30 days. So that's accountability. So that's the way it works. Yes, ma'am?
I had a question. You said the state has sort of put it on hold. Do you have any sense of how far along they were with it when they put it on hold, as far as the areas they're looking at, how similar they might be?
Can I give you my guess?
I would not dare to
November.
speak. Probably after November. So I linked in the presentation and Dr. Truitt's article and what she said. And, you know, I won't get into politics. It is exciting to see both sides recognize, both sides of the aisle recognize that something's got to change about how we are measuring our schools and the success of our students. And I think that is what's probably driving it more, is that they all recognize if you can start with students, and we've got to measure how we're measuring the success of our students, and then that trickles back down to our schools. So that is helpful. But she definitely has been vocal about it needs to change, and she's been most vocal about CTE and how important it is to bring that in, that's our students need to be ready for the next millennium.
So, board members, I'll share with you. We know this may not be a complete document. I think it is an excellent start. It's certainly different from where we were the last time. For those of you who were here, if you recall, we had an alternate report card of 50-50, and that's where we stopped. There's so much more today we need to look at in determining where we are. What we didn't want to do was to wait and see where the state landed, because this is an opportunity for us to get creative, number one, and to see what we might want to look at in the event the state allows us that flexibility for those districts who have something in place. So I think our team did a fantastic job brainstorming and pulling some elements that we know are of importance, but it's not to say this is it. There are still some other components. You know, I've heard just sitting here tonight, we don't want to forget in this mix. What I like is how no one thing stands out as weighing a little more heavily than something else. It's all important in this salad bowl. So please don't hesitate to continue reaching out. This is a work in progress. So we're not going to ask for any action on this tonight. I think what they've done is you all asked them to bring 3 options, but as we got into it, we said, you know, this is probably going to continue for a moment, because we realized this isn't it, and we could continue to toil with this. So I want to, one, commend the group. We did go back a couple of times, and they
We
did.
needed to. That's what
We did.
We needed to.
We did, and I so appreciate the willingness. I do, but this is not a finished product.
So when we get to the point where you feel like you're at a finished product, could we see maybe a sample of our schools so that we're putting
Absolutely.
live data and understand how it works?
That would be neat. That would be neat to do. Absolutely. And so we'd like to come back to the academic committee and still play a little bit, because I've even heard here, so where does, and don't forget, there is no mistake here. We've entitled this Portrait of a School, because remember, the state is working on the portrait of a graduate. So we didn't even call this report card. That was intentional. So we're trying to get away from some things we've done traditionally, and even trying to modernize our thinking around this, that there are multiple things that need to be considered when measuring our schools, and thinking differently about report card. What about a portrait of a school? And what should be on that canvas? So just wanted to include that in tonight's conversation.
So I just want to understand, so this would be for our website only? So like, or is this like something that people would see if they went through NCDPI's website? Or is that what we're kind of hoping for long-term? Or, because I'm just curious, like, I mean, I like this, and I think it's really valuable, but I would be curious, like, if a parent were moving to Granville County, how can they take this data and compare it to other neighboring schools outside of this system? So I'm just understanding how that works.
Excellent question. The state of North Carolina, because they are revisiting it as a state, we will all eventually have something as a state. Again, we don't know when. We don't know when, but we know the state, the entire state, will have something new. Until that time, though, we're all sort of looking at, so if the world were ours, what do we think it should be? There have been rumors that for those of us who have something, we might get to keep it. There have also been rumors that the entire state may go to the exact same platform. We just don't know. But what we don't want to do is to sit here and not have something, knowing that things need to change.
Well, and back when we first had this conversation, when it was the 50-50 model, the thought would be is you have your DPI data, nothing we can do about that, but then this would be right there beside it on our website so that people could see both versions. And ours would be more geared towards this is what a school looks like and how it's operating within our district. So you'd have parents that could see both of them.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I just want to mention or just say, I think this is great. We're out there, we're looking at it, and, you know, just putting things out there. Everything that you all, you know, have laid out is great. And I really believe that as you continue to work this process, I would think maybe even at the state level should be able to see it and say, consider it as, you know, hey, this seems to be a great, and they're out there being innovative, putting things out there.
Be
We
nice
need to-
when our superintendent goes to her superintendent's meeting to be able to say, this is what we're doing and why it's working.
Exactly, exactly. It's great. This is great.
Dr. McKnight?
I was just gonna say, I totally like this, and I see what you did with the stars and everything. The whole 5-star. I
The
got it.
5 stars, did you get it? We were intentional about that too, thanks to
love
Dr.
the-
Winborn.
I love the balance of this. Just a couple questions, and I know you're still working this out, but is there any thought of adding like any benchmark data to the report card as well? And the other two pieces, for the student well-being survey, how low are we talking of surveying the kids? Are we going all the way down to kindergarten, or is this gonna be like 3?
I think they start, is it third? They start in second grade.
Second,
Second
okay.
grade.
We currently survey, that's right, Dr. Winborn, I wasn't
Second
sure if
grade.
it was first or second. Is it second?
Second grade.
Okay, that's why I was just wondering like how far down we go. And then for the TWC survey, because that's every other year, are we thinking we would just give it in the off year? Okay.
And it wouldn't be the full survey. Dr. McLean is very strong on just the last question that
Last
says, my school is a good place to work and learn. And
That's right.
and we know that is our, when you're in a
That's the
building.
litmus test.
That's
for
the litmus test.
Valuations
And
and
that's the
everything.
one that's in your school improvement plan. And what are you doing to make sure that 85% of your staff have said yes to that? And so that would be the one question that we would probably use for that target measure.
Does this seems like, remind me, it seems to line up pretty well with our school improvement plan
It does.
Yes.
framework, right?
And so I will say that I showed it to one principal, and he said, you know, this would be great. And I used what you had, Dr. McKnight, to kind of show that when we would give it to our principals, we could have all of the data broken down by the subgroups and all of that. And he just said, well, this would be great, especially if we could just take this and the data and give this right to the board, that to the board to say, here's our data and here's our plan. You know, this is where we want to be. You know, here's what my TWC was. Here's what my chronic absenteeism was. Here's what my TWC, you know, all of these were, and here's what my goal is for next year. And then that the board would have a consistent, you know, plan for when we're working on our school improvement plans to say, okay, this is, you know, this is what their targets are. So.
Dr. Houlihan, you'd be disappointed if you didn't get a big thick notebook, right?
Big, thick notebook so you can hide anything you want to.
We're trying to get it to one sheet for you, Dr.
You're doing well.
If there are more ideas, what is the best way for us to get those ideas to you or that team?
Certainly. If you will just get those sent to Ms. Amy Rice, that would be great.
So, but I am taking it that from the 3 options there, take it away. Sorry. I think option 1 was do nothing. But you're going to let us continue. Option 1 was
60/40.
the 60/40. Or continue working with option 2, this portrait of the school prototype, or option 3, just wait for the state to figure out what it's going to do.
Or
And
do you
when
have
will
an
that
Option
be?
2, okay.
A consensus board?
6 years?
So we continue to plug along with our option 2. Send us any suggestions or ideas that you have, and we will work on option 2.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Great work. Thank you, Ms. Rice.
All right.
Thank you so
job.
much, Ms. Rice.
All right. Next is our pandemic action report.
Absolutely. Mrs. Curtis is out this evening with a sick child, so Dr. Winborn, will you please share this report with us this evening?
Thank you, Dr. McLean.
Thank you.
I will just sort of cruise through these slides rather quickly. Fortunately, we're in good shape across the board. You know, our PPE, again, is optional. Masks, face coverings, optional. You passed earlier this evening the current policy, so that status quo is still in effect. We do ask that all students maintain that physical distancing when feasible. Reviewing our readiness indicators, operationally, we are still in great shape. We have all this equipment, supplies, and materials that we need to keep everything sanitized and clean and safe. We do still have some staffing challenges, but it's nothing like what it was a few months back. So that is really good news. And I think there's some additional statistics in here to show you. Our number of substitutes continue to rise, so we're doing better there as well. Great work from our HR department on that. And, you know, our county is in the green with the low transmission rates, so that's good news there as well. These are the week prior, last week, that's right, the last week of April. The number of staff, we had 1 confirmed case, 4 student cases, and we had 5 staff that were in quarantine or isolation and 36 students in quarantine, and a total of 8 staff days absent, which, again, these are just so much lower than where we were a few months ago, so it's great news. And you can see from the trend lines, everything is just really gone back down dramatically. Of course, we'll caution that, you know, if you've watched the news lately, there's some concern about, you know, potential rise as immunities trail off. So I think in the northeast part of our country, they're seeing it start to tick back up again. So we'll just have to keep our eye on that and hope that it does not increase like it did before. Again, just trend lines on this data, you can see pretty good shape. Be nice to stay this way. Just one note, we do have 2 sites, Butnerston Middle and Mary Potter, where we do free testing. And the Granville Vance Public Health Department will soon be holding vaccine clinics at both these sites, open to the public. And the schedules, I think, are still to be determined, but they'll be free, and insurance is not required, and all the different types of vaccines will be available as well. And so more information to come about that, but again, it's just trying to make vaccinations more available to the public. We've agreed to cooperate in that effort.
That's right.
And that's
Thank
it
you.
for our pandemic action report.
What's the action?
Yes, this was an information item.
Information, that should read information, not action.
Thank you so much. Board, our next item is 8.09, our K through 5 math curriculum adoption. This comes to you from Dr. Winborn and Dr. Whitaker. So I think we'll listen to a presentation about that.
Dr. Winborn, I think you're solo on that this evening.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Very, very short presentation. I'd like to thank Dr. Whitaker for all of her hard work on this effort. The first slide talks about, you know, our expectations with regard to curriculum. Why do we adopt a local curriculum? Well, obviously, as I've said many times, and our superintendent has shouted from the rooftops, we teach to the North Carolina standards. And adopting a local curriculum that is aligned with the standards is sort of the next step in that process. It gives those materials, those supports, those resources to our teachers so that they can effectively teach our children. And it helps with the clarity about what's expected. Along with these curriculum documents are pacing guides, lesson plan ideas, all the tools that teachers need to have in their toolbox. And then it also provides professional development. It used to be back in the day, these were just textbooks, right? You think about curriculum, you would get a big fat textbook. Well, nowadays, of course, all of these are hybrid. The majority of the material is online, although there are hard copy materials, workbooks that children can write in, handouts, posters, that kind of thing that accompany these curriculum resources. This is just a snapshot at our progress in math over the past few years. We have seen a trend going in the wrong direction. Even before the pandemic, we started to see a slip in our proficiency. And this is one of the reasons we are bringing a new curriculum to you tonight. We've been doing a lot of work, doing a lot of surveying, a lot of talking, a lot of conversations with our teachers about the old curriculum that we were using. And there was a level of dissatisfaction, I think. There were some questions about alignment and ease of use. And so we put together well, first of all, the very first thing we did was we checked the North Carolina approved curriculum and textbook list, because North Carolina does an extensive vetting process to see which materials are in fact aligned with the standards. So looking at that list, we narrowed it down and pulled together a team of teachers and principals to review these and get feedback on which ones were preferred. And we had the vendors of these companies come in and give presentations and answer questions to the teachers and the principals, provided samples to all of them, gave them access to the online materials, and gave them time to sort of digest it and think about it. We then did some surveys to generate questions and ask about the different components, and created a rubric, and then ranked the different options. That we got down to a final 2 choices. And then we did a final meeting with the principals to determine which was the best course of action. So after that long, in-depth process, where we feel like we've gotten a lot of buy-in from the people who are actually going to use these materials, that was really important on a final decision. And that, of course, was HMH into math. We're also pleased that this was chosen because it's the same brand of curriculum that's used in our middle school for math, and it's the same brand that's used for our English language arts, K-8. So we have a standardized platform for all of our K-8 core curriculum now. It's the same vendor, which makes it easier for our teachers to have a single point that they go to for both content areas, especially in the elementary school where many of them are having to teach both. And it's also more economical for us as a district. So tonight we're bringing to the board for your approval the adoption and purchase of this curriculum in a total amount of $615,428.06. This is a 5-year contract. Okay, I know that is a lot of money, but this is a 5-year contract, and it includes the consumables being replaced during that time. So I'd be happy to try to answer any questions. Yes, ma'am.
How long has the Eureka program been in the elementary schools?
I believe it's either 3 or 4 years. And someone might correct me in a text message in a minute, but
Just curious.
yeah, as a district. Some schools adopted it on their own prior to that.
Okay.
Because we did not have a district-wide adopted curriculum.
Yes, sir.
What kind of professional development will be tied to this? And will it be something shoved down the throats of teachers, or will there continue to, I'm serious, or will it continue to be involving teachers in those decisions? In other words, is there money in all of this for professional development so that teachers will know what, you know what I'm saying?
I do. Well, there is no additional cost for the professional development. It's included in this. But the real problem, I think, or issue you're addressing is finding time for these teachers to do it. And, that was a difficult decision. We thought about maybe just not doing anything because we knew that this science of reading training is coming down from the state next year, which is required for all school districts. But ultimately, when we looked at these scores right here, Dr. Land, and we heard the dissatisfaction from our teachers about the effectiveness of the curriculum we were using, we felt like we didn't have any choice. We needed to make a change. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to be very difficult to implement this, and there's just not enough time. Dr. McLean has, continued to talk about this as something we need to consider, and we've already had conversations about ways to potentially provide some compensation or other ways to give teachers some sort of relief for this, because the calendar, it doesn't build in, we don't have the flexibility to build in all of the work days that we really need. Dr. McLean, I don't know if there's anything you want to add in that respect. I just know it's something she's talked about, this concern of putting too much on our teachers. It's real, and I'm glad you brought it up, Dr. Houlihan.
Yes, sir.
So if we don't, I understand all the problems, but if we don't provide the training, we all know that it's not going to be that effective by and large.
Right.
So we buy all this, but we don't do but we don't do the professional development. I mean, come on. That's what we've done to teachers all the time, and that's why we are where we are.
Well, I think it's going to have to be creative of when we use our PD days, as well as those PLC groups, and finding ways to possibly compensate teachers for an extra day or a couple days to do that.
What amount of time are we talking about in professional development, say for a first grade teacher? Are we talking about 1 day, 3 hours, 2 days? You know, I know
Well,
the science of reading is a very, very
Yes,
long time.
that's a whole different can of
different
worms.
ballgame.
Well, one of the pieces of good news about this is the same platform that many of them are already using in our elementary schools if they teach both English language arts and math in the lower grades. So it's, that learning curve will not be there. They'll already know what it's like. They know how to navigate. It'll be very intuitive. But this, the structure of this curriculum, what we heard from the surveys and the feedback from the teachers was a lot more streamlined and easier to follow and understand than Eureka Math. And that it was more aligned to the standards. So I don't have specific amounts of time for you, Ms. Williams. I think probably our goal is going to be during the initial work days at the start of school to get a half day under everyone's belt in K-5, and then start to work slowly on the implementation during PLCs, during their planning time throughout the year. And I mean, it will not be implemented fully within a year. It's going to take time to get this done. And we will do our best, Dr. Houlihan, I do not want to shove this down anyone's throat, because I sympathize with their plight right now.
Did you hear much comment from the teachers as they were selecting about the PD?
I would have to defer to Dr. Whitaker on that. I don't know enough to share.
My other question is, how much is it going to interfere with the letters training that they're already going to be required to do?
It certainly will be an additional burden. But as far as the schedule for those trainings, I don't think it'll directly conflict, because we have a lot of flexibility in when we can plan this professional development with the vendor. But, I mean, to answer your question,
Because, it's a lot we're
it
asking
is.
all at once.
It is.
Well, you made the comment that some of the teachers felt like it was a better curriculum, more streamlined, so hopefully on balance, it'll be palatable. So
I think more than ever, we're going to have to be very we're going to have to be very kind, very understanding, and very patient with this.
in working with a grandchild, I struggle with the Eureka program myself, so I can sympathize.
Dr. Wimborne, one quick question. Just how much flexibility do we have to play with the calendar if we had to go back and look for like early release or delayed starts, or do we have any creativity?
Well, we do have surplus, our calendar is based on the calendar law dealing with the total number of instructional hours, not the total number of days. And we, as presented, I think there was this total surplus hours equated to something like 6 to 8 days extra built in for our schools with the lowest numbers.
Okay.
Now, that may sound like, oh, well, we have 6 or 8 days extra, right, that we could pull out. But we have to keep in mind that in any given year, inclement weather may gobble up half of those, and then if it just takes one big event, and then, so there's just not a lot of cushion. There is some, we could certainly consider at the elementary level, maybe adding some in because of this, if that's the pleasure of the board. Mr. Graham, I don't know, catch you just off the top of your head, but I think elementary, is it somewhere around, I think, 40 surplus hours, I believe, for elementary? Yeah. It's about. So it's 1,065, I think, something like that, that they have. And you need 1,025 minimum instructional hours.
Other questions or comments, board? Dr. McLean, anything you want to add?
We'll keep an eye on it.
So, board, this does come to you as an action item. Staff is recommending that we move forward with a 5-year contract for the HMH into math curriculum being adopted for our K through 5 grades. What would be the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion by Dr. Houlihan and a second by Dr. McKnight to approve the curriculum as presented by the staff for the beginning of the 22-23 school year for the cost of $615,428.06 for 5 years. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, if you're ready to vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Winborn. All right, I believe we're going to let Ms. Hines take us home.
Sounds good. Ms. Vicki Hines, thank you so much. Will you join us at the podium?
Ms. Hines, I need to pull in the members on the stream, is that correct?
Yes, you can do that now or later on.
Is now the time to bring them in?
We can wait a little bit.
Okay.
unless they'd like to join.
And may I get a member of the tech team to join us at the front? We have a camera that is out.
He probably unplugged.
Okay.
Yes, I'm trying, because I had to go into my email to find this link.
Okay.
So did you tell them to join yet?
Yes, oh, I thought that's what it comes up again.
Oh, no, I said that it was open, but they had, here we go. Well, there's Pam, let's see.
Okay.
I just told them to try again.
All right. So that's on standby when you're ready.
Perfect, perfect. Great. Good evening. We are starting this evening with our budget amendments, as usual. In our state fund this year, this month, for the, goodness gracious, for the March 31st, goodness gracious. For the state fund, we have an update to our state allotments for our school technology, summer reading camp, literacy, including literacy intervention, exceptional children's program, transportation. There's a low wealth signing bonus in there, and supplemental funds for teacher compensation, and that's related to the March bonus that we sent to teachers. So a lot of these we already knew about. We are just adding them to the budget this month, and so that's a total increase of our state budget of $1,077,644 for an updated total appropriation of $55,791,451. And in our local fund, we have amendments to move funds to support school needs, as well as to cover the costs of the water cleanup at South Granville High School. And that's that $82,250 that that was approved at the last board meeting to come from our fund balance. And again, that's an increase in the budget of $82,250 for a total appropriation in our local budget of $348,651. And finally, in our other restricted fund, We have a budget amendment to add our additional recycling revenue for the month of $1,113. And that's for an ending total appropriation of $7,727,402. Are there any questions about our budget amendments?
Board members, this does come to you as an action item to increase or make those changes to the budget. What would be your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Ms. LeBrecq. Do we have a second?
Second.
No, faster than I can write. Hold on one second. All right, we have a motion by Ms. LeBrecq and a second by Dr. McKnight to approve the budget amendments as presented. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, thank you so much. You've got a financial update for us.
We do. You have the financial update in front of you as of March 31st, 22. At this point, in the year, we were at 75% through the fiscal year. Our percentages are in line and expenditures are within budget. Do you have any questions?
Don't think so. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I cannot see you raise your hand tonight. There you go.
I was just looking, when I was looking at it, I noticed the capital outlay item. Is that because other things haven't been scheduled or they're being finished up in the first general operating funds? Am I looking at it correctly, percentage to date?
You're looking at capital outlay?
I thought,
Stan, will you scroll down a little bit?
maybe I'm in.
Yes, you're right. It's sitting at 24% right now. There
Okay.
are a lot of expenditures, a lot of big projects
Okay.
that are coming down the pike right now. And so we'll be paying for
I
those
thought
very
that's
soon.
probably was the case.
It's coming. It's coming.
But in case somebody had a question
You're
about it,
right.
was looking at it, that would be helpful today.
You're absolutely right.
Thank you.
And you'll see the same with our local budget. You're right, it's not up to that 75% because we use a lot of that local budget for our local supplement, which is partially paid out at the end of the year.
Right.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Next, you have the report on COVID funds as of March 31st. The first page you see there is by program that the funds have been designated for by the state. We have, at this date, we have a total, by March 31st, we have total expenditures of $8,586,990. Thank you, those are much bigger numbers, I appreciate that. And we have a total allotment of $26,578,302, with a remaining balance of $17,991,312. And the next group of reports is the same data except broken down by type of expenditure. Of course, you can see the type of expenditure there as well. And of course, the type of expenditure in this next report. And then, of course, at the very end, you'll see the chart, and we are still at 69% of our COVID funds being used for salary and benefits, and the next greatest area being supplies and materials, including our computer purchases of 26%. Do you have any questions? Sounds good. And finally, we have we have the board travel report as of March 31st. You will see additional, we have the Spring Law Conference in March, as well as North Carolina Eggs and Issues. We have our total budget is $6,317 with expenditures, and I apologize, that is expenditures as of March 31st, please make that correction, of $1,755.38. So we have a remaining balance of $4,561. Do you have any questions?
All right, sounds good, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I believe our next item is our budget update. You'll be working with the HERD group there.
Correct.
All right, board, while they're working on this, we're going to take a 10-minute break, so that's 8:37 now, so if you can be back here by 8:45, ready to go, please, okay? So we're at a break. All right, now we're back. Kevin, are we good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Ms. Hines, are you ready to go?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I want to thank Mr. Ricky Lopes from the Hill Consulting Group for joining us today. I appreciate your patience with our technology difficulties, so thank you for coming in tonight. I appreciate it. We're going to do a quick review. Dr. Horn, if you would pull that up. We're just going to, you guys have seen all the information that I'm about to put in front of you. Before we even start, I want to thank you guys for doing the work over the past week. It was a lot of work to really think through this and think through the challenges we have ahead of us. And you guys have done that work, and I do appreciate that. You've seen it before. It's in a little bit different format. Wanted to share the budget realities that we have ahead of us, as well as the approximate cost that was discussed with the Hill Group, and conversations that we've had about how we're going to manage those difficulties. You know that bottom line is $6.8 million that we have to cut in some way next year, that we have to address in some way. And that's quite a hurdle. Through your support, we've made a plan for portions of it, and we'll be moving forward. We talked about those salary and benefit increases for those state dollar allotments that we have. Because we talked about the positions are handled at the state level, but not necessarily the dollar allotments. Our plan at this moment is to handle that through Granville County Schools reduction, as well as using ESSER in the short term for items that we just can't cut because we have cut quite a bit. So there are certain positions that are critical in a school building, and we're going to make sure that we do what we have to do to cover our schools at the same time, but we are looking at reduction there. For that loss in ADM, we are absolutely talking about Granville County Schools reduction. We don't have those students, so we'll be making that reduction. And of course, we discussed the possibility of consolidation as well. We discussed those prior year held harmless positions. Again, those positions that are critical for our schools. And our intention is to continue to support those positions in the short term using fund balance and or ESSER dollars. And again, that conversation of possible consolidation will support that in the long term. For those salary and benefit increases in our locally funded positions, we've decided to request that funding. And the salary decompression for that $15 an hour, $1.1 million, we have decided to request that funding as well. So again, our challenges equal about $6.8 million, and if you would. But what we have decided what the board at the last work session decided to request from the county, and you'll notice a little bit of the different language here, because when we look at it, we do need to look at it differently, because our continuation budget we're asking for that increase in our locally funded positions for that salary benefit increase. We know that that's just a standard ask that we make of the county. And of course, capital outlay, again, is a standard 4% increase. And that is a standard ask. What we had called expansion before, but we realized that that's really a misnomer. Because it's not an expansion of our programs. It is an unfunded mandate by the state. The state is requiring that we have a minimum wage of $15 an hour for all employees. And what the state, and we know that the state is not going to fully fund that part of the requirement. But what we also know is we can't leave it as just putting everybody up to at least $15 an hour, because for some of our positions, our employees could be making $15 an hour for 25 years, and that's not how anyone runs a business. It's not appropriate, and it's not how we treat our employees. So, and that is what that decompression is. It's decompressing those scales. So the lowest on a pay range may be $15 an hour, but it increases as you go up each step. The Hill Group has estimated that cost to be $1.1 million to fund that decompression. Now, what we don't know, again, at this time, is what the state's going to fund and what they're not going to fund. But that is, worst case scenario, what we would expect, yes.
Are all these figures include what would be, some of this would be passenger charter, is that correct?
That's that next
Okay.
column, is that increase for charters, because we know that that's that extra 22% that we have to send to charter schools. And that, so 1.5 is the Granville County Schools ask, but that increase for charters would be $408,000. And that's where that total increase, that total request comes to $1,927,905. Again, that is what we need, what Granville County Schools needs for their budget, as well as that increase for charters.
So that $20,791,880 includes the amount that would go to charters, is that correct?
Yes, it does, yes.
I just heard that figure said by someone earlier tonight, and I just wanted to make sure I was on the right track on that.
Absolutely. All right, so Mr. Lopes is with us. Just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page here with this request. Do you have any questions or anything you'd like to address with Mr. Lopes?
We had originally talked about that compression needing to be over several years. Are we trying to ask for all of it at one time because it's less?
We are asking for all of it, but we have a plan in place. Okay. And that's part of the conversation as well. We do have a plan in place so that if the county is not able to, and we have to account for the fact that that is a huge ask for the county, and we have to acknowledge that. So we do have a plan so that if they're not able to fully fund it in 1 year, then we can support it with ESSER dollars. We have the benefit of still having some of these ESSER dollars available to us that we can cover over the next 3. So we would like to phase it in over 3 years, if at all possible.
Thank you. Board members, other questions or discussion items? We're at the point now where we really need to start giving some solid direction to Mr. Lopes and Ms. Hines so that this can start being prepared to be brought back to you.
And just as a reminder that this is what was voted on at the last work session.
What kind of motion do we need to get to move forward with the budget as we?
I would say with the ask you just presented, have y'all already voted on that?
We did.
Okay.
We did. This was voted on at the
So unless
work
there's any
session.
changes, then this is what we're.
Only if there's a change from the last meeting.
So a motion to approve the proposed budget as presented.
They're saying you did that at the last work session.
But I mean,
So we don't need a motion if nobody's willing to.
Unless you want to change
Unless
something.
nobody wants to change it.
Great. So we're
Now-
all set then.
Clarify for me, I know we talked about this is the ask. We've worked through some ideas about Plan Bs and stuff like that. do we wait until they come back before we start finalizing that piece, or?
Well, we can. We have a liaison meeting scheduled for the 11th. We can answer their questions or maybe see what questions they have of us, because we have a meeting scheduled for the 12th.
Okay.
And that will be a good time to clarify as well.
Dr. McLean, have you gotten any feel from Mike Feltz about, I mean, does he realize what this is in terms of state, mandates and so on and so forth?
He would probably say, unfortunately, yes.
I think he did say that.
Okay.
We met with him today, yes, sir.
Oh, good. Okay.
And I think he's just as befuddled as we are with how we still don't know anything from the state yet about this unfunded mandate. So you actually see some of the language change here, and that is in our effort to try to explain not only to commissioners, but to the general public that it isn't an expansion. Even in our presenting it to him, it's not just an expansion because we want to expand, our ask. This is an unfunded mandate. And that was the result of our talking with him today, because he has to, in some way, present this. And we're all having difficulty in explaining that $1.1 million is not something we came up with. It is an unfunded mandate from the state that has to occur, and someone has to find the money for it. So he does. He realizes the seriousness of it and is going to present it, but he's also prepared that if this needs to be parceled, to present it as such. So we did. We had a very good conversation. Not that any of us liked the conversation, but we did have a good conversation.
So essentially at this point where we're at, unless you want to recommend any changes or ask for additional information, then they will move forward with putting this together so we can present that to the liaisons and the commissioners. And then we've got that meeting scheduled for the 11th. Anything we find out back from that, then we're already scheduled for the 12th as a board to meet and discuss budget. Does that seem reasonable to everyone?
I have a question.
Yes,
and
sir.
It's fine what we've done so far, but moving forward, it's well, I might as well say it. That's what I think. Anyway, I don't think they are going to fund us at the level we need to be funded at. So we're gonna have to go to A, B, and C. And how soon will we as a board know? I know what those recommendations will be. I mean, we don't need them at this point because, it's sort of putting the cart before the horse. But knowing that we're gonna probably need to go there, I was just curious about how soon, once we know where we are, that we'll be able to deal with that.
So I know they had their last budget discussions with board members today. Would I assume that y'all would be able to come back with some additional plans at that 12th?
Actually, if you'll pull up the slide, Vicki, at the end where she had fund balance or all.
It's already there.
We're ready to do whatever is the pleasure of the board. We can play with those things now.
Well, I'm really not interested in getting the cart before the horse, so to speak.
Yes, sir. We'll wait then.
For personally, we need to ask for what we need.
Yes, sir.
And deal with the results of that after we know what it is.
So what about right after that liaison meeting, why don't we craft something and send our full board that we can at least have you all to begin thinking about, so when we come on the 12th, we know what to come with.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion, and maybe you're already doing this? Can we go ahead and send what we're going to present to the liaisons prior to that meeting so that they can soak it in before and we don't have shell shock on the 11th?
Absolutely.
That way it'll be productive.
That was discussed today, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you think that's going to help?
I didn't say it was gonna help, I just, at least like to have something to talk to them about when we can sit down.
We'll do that.
You can talk about
We
what
saw
they,
the
you
shell
can
shock.
talk about what they already know.
Yeah, we saw the shell-shocked look when we told them about the minimum wage going up.
Really?
All right, do you need any more information from us?
Not at all, not at all. Thank you, Mr. Lopes, for joining us. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think you're doing the right thing. Even though every year is a different battle to get money, the more communication you have with the county commissioners, the better off you're going to be. So the fact that you're trying to initiate discussions first with the administration over there and then with the county commissioners, you're doing all you can do. The law has changed as to what happens if they don't agree to your request, so you kind of are limited into your to what you can do. But I think you're doing the right thing by opening up the lines of communication, even if things may not have gone as well as you would have liked in the past.
Thank you, Mr. Lopes. I appreciate you coming.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, good job, thank you. All right, board members, we are now at the point where we need to go into closed session, so I'd like to entertain a motion that we adjourn to closed session. I gotta get it all out first. You at least have to read it, I'm told.
Yeah.
Adjourn to closed session in accordance with NC General Statute 143, 318, 11, A6, A3, A5, and Section 115C, 321 for personnel and attorney-client privilege. We have a motion by Ms. LeBret.
Yes.
After reading all that, you're still okay with it? And do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Peace.
Falling asleep since you did that.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed.
Did it pass?
Considering it a full-time
Has it
job.
passed? They were gonna
And
recommend.
they were already making 28,000. Really?
Yeah, it's gonna go up to
Okay.
like 6.
All right, board members, we're back in open session. First, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the personnel exhibits as presented in closed session.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Peace and a second by Ms. Anderson. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Next is to approve one-year contracts for, I missed the second. Okay, so presenting one-year contracts to the Granville yeah, what she said. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. LeBrecq, a second by Dr. McKnight to approve the one-year contracts for Granville Early College high school teachers. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right. Board members, you have on your agenda upcoming dates. Our next big event is Evening of Excellence on May 10th at South Granville High School that evening.
Did you say 10th or 12th?
10th, sorry. We do have 12th for a work session, but if you'll take a look at those, and please try to make a priority to be there at that stuff, especially noting graduations. So you'll get some more information about the rest of these events as they come up. Anything you want to add to that?
Really excited about the 10th Evening of Excellence. That is, if you note here, we have one error. We have two programs that night. The first program is at 6:30 p.m. Please note that change. The second program is at 7:30 p.m. So those corrections need to be made in your agenda.
All right. Madam Superintendent, do you have anything else?
Nothing. Thank you all so very much for all you do. Happy
All right,
Teacher
board members, do you
Appreciation
have anything else?
Motion to adjourn, that's what I had.
We have a motion by Mr. Peace to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I beat y'all.
Glad everybody woke up here. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, we are adjourned at 9:30.